Hi there. I'm here with TMate Software. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes.
And you'll have to help me, Dmitry and Semyon. Okay. What type of product do you present here, and why should people be interested?
It's a tool for migration from Subversion to Git. Subversion to Git are two version control systems. One was most popular until recently. I think it was less than a year ago when the popularity actually became equal. But Subversion is declining, Git is growing, so most people are moving from one to another. And we are helping them doing that smoothly, safely, with no downtime, no stress, no internal conflicts. Basically, our product is the way to create a mirror between these two systems, which allows you to make the migration process as stress-free as possible.
Okay. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago when Jens Schumacher from Atlassian was in Wiesbaden and holding a keynote here at Tools4AgileTeams, and he said there's an awesome synchronization software by a company he had to think of, and then he came up with TMate. And they sync from back and forth, so you can use your team and still use Subversion and try this Git thing out and so on. So just to wrap this up for people who are not that technical, Subversion is a code repository system where I can store my source code for software development, right? And Git is basically the same thing in a more modern way, more distributed, has a couple of features. And because it's so superior, a lot of people today want to use Git for software development, right?
Exactly.
And now you have the problem that Subversion is everywhere out there, and everyone wants to use Git. And now how do I get my old legacy code that I still want to maintain because my software is built there into this new Git thing? And that's not easy. It's not just copy paste and that's it, right?
It's not only the question of legacy code, it's not only a question of history, it's also a question of infrastructure, because this code repository does not exist in vacuum. Mm-hmm. It has the build server attached, it has the developer tools attached, it has the issue tracker attached, it might have some revision software attached, and this is all in a single infrastructure, all connected to each other, and you can't just move from one source code repository to another with leaving all the infrastructure with the old one. You either have to stop everything, reinstall everything from the scratch based on the new source code repository, or you can do it step by step, making sure that all the process is both in the old and the new source repository. That's exactly what we provide. Mm-hmm. You don't have to...
So I can use it in parallel.
Exactly.
And it's not only, what you're describing is, those systems are intertwined. So I have Jira, I have Subversion, I have maybe Jenkins or Hudson or something else, and they all work together, and you're helping me making the switch easily, but it's also a cultural thing for the developer to switch from Subversion to Git. Can you talk a little bit about what this means?
Yeah, I can elaborate on that. Well, Git provides new tools and new workflows for working on it. For example, if you're familiar with Git, you probably know what is pull request. It's a special branches which are dedicated for a certain feature. So a team is working on a certain feature in a certain branch, and they review the changes on the branch for pull requests, which are supported, for example, by Bitbucket server. This is not a common workflow with Subversion. And if you use an SVN mirror for Bitbucket server, you can actually start using Git with your actual Subversion repository. And this is the culture shift we're actually observing.
So if I'm like the new kid in town and I know this Git already, I can start coding there, and the old people in Subversion will still see my code
exactly,
there.
Exactly. Like,
how do you do that? That sounds like magic.
It is.
Oh, it's magic. So,
yeah, we actually rely on, well, it's a bit of technical detail, but we rely on predictive hooks. So when someone pushes a change or a number of changes into Git repository, our hook is getting triggered, and at this point we synchronize all the changes with Subversion repository. So every time one submits a change into Git repository, the change immediately appears on the Subversion side, and vice versa. And someone commits a revision into SVN repository, we fetch it into Bitbucket server, for example, to Git repository. So it was completely transparent.
How often do you do that? Like in real time, or every other second, or how's it done?
Well, by default, it was once a minute. But when you push a change to Git repository, it happens.
There's an event happening.
Yeah,
Okay.
And the back, you can make the period small, you can make 15 seconds. So it's actually the period of time in which our plugin requests changes from Subversion. It can be once a minute, it can be once in 15 seconds. Depends on how many coders you are working in the same repository, how often commits are made.
Okay, is there something that you can show me for people like me with limited technical skills to understand how this works?
I can show you. So here I have a Bitbucket server, and I have to create a Git repository for my project. So I create a new repository, let's call it demo, and then there is a SVN mirror settings where I can specify URL to SVN repository. And I can specify credentials of this repository, check if it's working well. Then I specify how I map the branches, all the technical details here for making the mirror possible.
May I add one comment here before we proceed? So, what Semyon is showing is an add-on to Bitbucket, which is the easiest way to use it because it has interface, graphical interface. But it's not.
I'm understanding what he's doing.
But it's not limited to Bitbucket. If you are
it could be
any Git server,
Bash, version
but
also,
so SubGit standalone works with any Git server on the market. It's tested with GitLab, it's tested with GitHub, it's tested with Gerrit. So you
Many tools.
Yeah. The only advantage of Bitbucket is that you don't need to get it somewhere else. It's straight in the Atlassian market.
Bitbucket your biggest market, or
Yeah, that's
right
for
now,
sure.
yeah.
That's for sure.
But
So
it's not limited to Bitbucket.
Yeah.
So as soon as you have all the details specified for the mirror, you click one button and things just getting imported from SVN.
Bam!
And that's it basically.
Here we go. So can you show me in
So I can
a change in Subversion and in Git?
So here are the files I have just imported. Here are the changes which I just imported.
So that's from Subversion now.
Yeah. Now I want to send these changes from the Git side of the mirror, and for that
So that's Git, that's Subversion.
Okay.
so on this side. So I create a clone of that Git repository.
If you don't understand that part, it's just like with me. We wave and smile.
Just a moment.
You have to make this part visual too.
So
Yeah, but we were recording the screen. That's going to be.
So we have just finished the changes. So I see those files which were in Subversion initially, and then I can actually change it. I can modify any file.
So he's not using VI.
Oh, I'm not using the device. So after that,
That's a religion, right?
That's
Which
a religion, yeah.
which editor you use on the bash?
yeah, definitely. So let's commit this change, and then try to push it. File txt. Right now we have a commit, and then we push it to Bitbucket server. And at this very moment, the plugins.
So what you could
start
do, by the
to-
way, is there's tree. How's the Atlassian tool?
Source tree.
Source tree.
Yeah.
You could use source tree, and then people would be easier to see. Oh, there's a branch, and now
exactly.
he's going back to
I use
master.
source tree.
and-
I'm
yeah.
no developer, I use source tree for
Yeah,
that.
So,
I'm just accustomed
but
to the
like, if
command
you're a
line.
developer, you'll laugh at me and really know what he's doing. So you change the file as basically what do you want to tell us in Git right now, right?
Right.
You did it in Git.
And then I have pushed this change to Bitbucket server, so I can see it in the UI. So I see this change. This is what I
Yeah,
have
a
just
moment ago.
a moment ago, right? And then I can see actually this change in Subversion repository. I can see this new line edit in SVN repository, and that happened at the moment when I actually push the change to Bitbucket server.
Yeah, okay.
So I have just synchronized the change to trunk at revision 19.
In Subversion.
Yeah, we can actually have a look into Subversion repository and see the change there. Right? we can see that there is this change committed from the Git side, right? This revision we have just created. This is actually what we have made on the Git side of the mirror, and it appeared immediately on the Subversion side.
Okay, elevator pitch. Why should people care about your solution? When I'm out there, I'm watching this, maybe I'm doing software development today, I want to get some more modern. Why should I care about TMate Software?
Well, if you want to use Git, and if you are using Subversion, that's the most smooth and stress-free way to do it. You can either do it both at the same time or migrate from one to another. It handles more Subversion information than any other tool on the market. And it's also the only one which runs a complete two-way mirror, which allows you to make the migration process as long as you like, get people time to adapt, get your DevOps time to rebuild the infrastructure to the new repository.
That really sounds pretty compelling. It sounded compelling 2 years ago already. What's the alternative? Like, what's your competitor? What
The competitor? Okay.
Well, there are the standard tool, which is Git SVN, which is actually it goes with actually the standard distribution of Git, right? But it's also provides this two-way mirroring functionality, but it is the client side. What we provide, we built the mirror on the server side, so everyone can use actually any Git client. Like you said, one can use source tree or any other like SmartGit.
Otherwise, it's on me, the developer, to make sure that this check-in in both systems works, which is unreliable. Maybe I'm only going to check into Git, and then we're in trouble, kind of.
Yeah. And so you basically, some people like, I don't know, Tota's Git, some like SmartGit. You can choose any client, and you're not bound to any Git SVN tool, which has its own kind of workflow.
So I can then simply buy a Bitbucket plugin through the Atlassian Marketplace or a vendor like Seibert Media, and off I go.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
It's just one-click installation, and then you can set up the mirror in a few more clicks, and then it works just like a magic, like you said.
Well, we also have a few analytical tools inside that will analyze the structure of the Subversion repository, which means it's very flexible. But
tell me how much depth I have created with my software development.
Yeah, it just basically helps you to set up this migration.
It can, if you have a more or less standard structure, it will be just converted automatically. If on the other hand, you have very complicated structure with mixed projects inside, you can include and exclude certain parts to make sure that you only convert to Git what you really need.
Cool.
It's very flexible and it's very easy to adjust.
Dmitry, Semyon, thanks so much for introducing me to this.
Thank you.